I'll do it like 4 times. I'm like, I'm gonna get in trouble. Usually I do. Welcome to Behind the Slate, where I sit down with fellow voice actors and other industry artists to have a fireside chat. I'm your host, Christian O'Boyle. If you'd like to know more about me, please check out my website at christianoboyle.com. In this episode, I'll be talking with Amanda Hufford, a full-time Texas-based voice actress, performer, and singer. She has a wide range of vocal and emotional expressions that, when not channeled into her work, causes her to burst out into random song or narrate random mundane activities. Amanda runs a talent pool with a welcoming artist community and assists in various projects with project management and organization, script supervision, directing, and casting. She enjoys her free time, petting any dog she meets, binging classic sci-fi, geeking out, and much more. Yeah, we're in a suburb area, so it's not too loud, but we have a bunch of like mini airports in the area. So nice day, people are flying their planes. You got your big trucks that are blasting by, making the biggest noise, and you're like, I guess, or mowing, and the leaf blowers won't go in. You know,
Mhm.
I'm not recording at this time, so that's
Nope.
where it's like, and I record mostly at night, which means Lily will be asleep and maybe Jesse's laying in bed, and then I get a script that says "scream your head off," and I go, and I'll do it. Like, no, I need to do it again. I'll do it like 4 times. I'm like, I'm gonna get in trouble. Usually I do.
I kick everybody out of my
Mhm.
house if I have a really packed day. So my best friend and my roommate, he's a nurse, so he
Mm,
rotates days,
right,
and if he's working, he'll be gone for like 14 hours, which is beautiful. But
right,
if he's home, he's home all day. So,
right.
if I have a lot of work to do and he's blaring his music and clanging pots and pans like a toddler for some reason, I'm
Mhm.
like, get out of the house, get out now, leave. I don't care where you go, but you cannot be here.
Just go. So,
Just get out.
how what got you into acting?
I have been acting kind of forever. I'm one of those kids who was always on, as you may have noticed. Uh, and so from a very young age, I was involved in all kinds of extracurricular programs that allowed
Mhm.
me to kind of express that. Acting and singing, uh, choral music was like a huge passion of mine when I
Right.
was younger. And I did that all through school. And that got to kind of combine in high school when I got to do the school musicals. So I could put the two classes together, and that was pretty
Mhm.
cool, and I continued that through college up into a point. In college, we didn't really have any, at least my school didn't have any like set theater courses.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it didn't really have a theater program, so everything was extracurricular. But I met some
Right.
amazing people I'm still friends with now. And through that, as I was, losing some of my connection to art by pursuing my degree in psychology,
Mhm.
Um, I still maintained contact with this really good friend of mine. His name is TJ, and at some point he asked me to come help him build this theater just outside of town and to
Wow.
teach there. And so we taught usually younger kids, but we
Mhm.
taught a theater class and we put on shows. And some people liked the voices that I was doing for this villain,
Right.
this kind of like snidely whiplash type voice, right? And they asked me to do some voices for them. And that's just kind of how I got started into voiceover specifically. And it
Wow.
just snowballed from there, completely fell into my lap. And I was like, oh, I already loved performing and, was miserable doing what I'm what I trained myself to do, what I spent all this time in school doing, right? And I'm
Right.
just miserable because I don't have any art in my life anymore.
Mhm.
And going back and teaching theater was a big kind of revelation. I was like, clearly I'm doing something wrong because I'm miserable without this. So I need to find a
Right.
way to be more involved again. And that's when the voice acting thing just fell in my lap. And I was like, this is it. This is
That's
what I should have been doing the whole time.
that's
So
awesome. So,
from
how
there,
long have
just
you
kinda
been
like
voice acting then?
voice acting specifically, I think about 6 years now.
Wow. Wow.
Yep, yep,
So,
been a bit.
are you is this your main source of income?
Yes, I do voice acting full time. I do other little odd job kinda stuff,
Yeah, as a freelancer would.
yeah, as a freelancer does, as you do,
Yeah.
but for the most part, and I do a lot of project management. I
Mhm.
have experience through running shows and other things that those kind of things that you just develop
Mhm.
and you learn from doing that people don't realize they need until they're, like, falling apart.
Right.
So
Right.
I do a lot of project management or like script supervision.
Mhm.
I help people run things, and so that's another side. And then of course I have that talent pool that I started up.
Right.
I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, and that takes up a lot of time, but it's well worth it. And I've met so many amazing people through it.
Yeah. So this master list that you've created, voice actors, writers, animators, and more, kind of what inspired you to kind of create this list?
So this is something I've wanted to do for a very long time,
Mhm.
and I just hadn't really found the appropriate platform to do it yet. But my original idea was just wanting a space where people could collaborate. End of that small seed of getting people together.
Yeah,
Often the other artists that you meet are other people doing exactly what you do, and that's of
exactly.
course good. Like as voice actors, networking with other voice actors.
Mhm.
You can learn from one another, but there's this disconnect between different genres of artists. They don't know how to talk to one another, they don't know how to find one another, and we
Mhm.
need each other for projects and
Right.
feedback and in learning.
Mhm.
And I just thought it would be great to have an awesome community where people could easily converse with one another and get feedback, post opportunities, collaborate, that kind of thing.
Right.
And one day I just decided, okay, I'm not going to wait anymore. I have so many people at my disposal who are incredibly talented that I use personally for projects or that I pull in,
Mhm.
or I spend so much time on Twitter tagging people in things that I see individually, and it's
Right.
very time consuming. And I thought, why not just make a list? So I
Mhm.
started making those lists on Twitter, and
Mhm.
that helped a bit. But then I was like, obviously, this needs to be somewhere where they can all interact as well. And I
Right.
thought, well, Discord's perfect for that.
Yeah.
So I took some time and I did up this whole server with, a lot of different sections for people to utilize for different reasons and role tags, and brought anybody who is interested in coming
Mhm.
in, and it just kind of took off from there.
That's awesome. I like interacting on it. I'm not a person who interacts on the Discord side too much, like with the community. I'll read stuff and kind of stay engaged and stuff. But I definitely like having that resource of casting calls being placed or someone asking for advice and being able to chirp in every once in a while. It's been very insightful and very helpful. And then I also see that you share also helpful tips and words to the community on Twitter. And what inspires you to share these supportive posts?
Uh, so funny thing, sometimes I post things that I'm thinking, or
Mhm.
maybe something I needed to hear, or if I'm having a conversation with somebody and I know that they needed to hear it, I think maybe other people did too.
Right.
So instead of just keeping these things in my head, I started posting them on Twitter. And
Yeah.
I've been, I think, humbled is probably the most appropriate word by the response that I've gotten from people.
Hmm.
So many people commenting on the tweet itself or just taking the time to message me and say, "You don't understand how much I needed that." And that
Yeah.
made a big difference for me. Someone told me that I talked them off a ledge without even knowing it, and that was really moving.
Yeah.
Um, I, of course, have, I think, some favorite moments of super hateful tweets. I had this one person tell me, "I don't know you, but I hate this, and now I hate you. Stop it." And um, it
Yay, online.
yeah, right? It gave me the biggest chuckle. I know it probably could have been hurtful to somebody, right? So I'm not encouraging that, but
Right.
for me, that's never gonna stop me from being myself or doing what I want to do. I just think, "Oh, oh, honey, do you need a hug? I'm so sorry you feel
Right.
that way."
You're like, "What are you going through that makes you feel this way?"
What who hurt you? Let's unpack this. It just it doesn't
And that's probably where your kind of, your degree kind of went in psychology.
Yes. So I found very early on as a kid that I have a lot of empathy.
Mhm.
And when I was younger, it got me into a lot of trouble because I was always putting myself in a situation to try to understand all manner of things, and that can
Right.
be very frustrating for adults. I
Definitely.
understand that now,
Mhm.
having a little perspective on the other side, but as a kid, I never understood it. So
Mhm.
I developed this sense of like, why doesn't anyone want to answer my questions? Or why are people being unfair?
Right.
And that's something that has followed me. And so I try to use it, to be more open with other people, to teach
Mhm.
myself how to be more accepting even when it's a situation that goes against my own personal opinions.
Yeah.
Um, so that's how I prefer to be.
Yeah. And I see you get a lot of engagement in it. People are interacting, like you said. I see a lot of retweets, a lot of likes, and stuff like that. So I think these posts are, I would say, very inspirational, very helpful. Like you said, even some people um, have actually it saved them, and that in a community where you're basically in a booth by yourself, talking to yourself, and a lot of people I feel that they're alone, and so being able to connect with someone even in a word that they said, I think is very strong and very impactful. Um, so what are and you also get some of these people that provide a not so positive response, and you're like, I don't know how this okay, but
Yeah.
maybe what are some of the etiquettes that maybe could be seen in the community? What are some things that people could do as a, I don't know, supporting or maybe not saying something rude, or what do you think about some etiquettes?
So I always think of, sweetheart, you catch more flies with honey than you will with vinegar. And I think that's really important. It's so simple. It's something we've all heard, but it's true. I am a stubborn, opinionated, passionate person.
Right.
And sometimes that can rub people the wrong way in real life, but it's uh it's something that I try to coat in sugar as
Right.
much as possible, especially when I'm talking to people that don't know me that well.
Hmm.
And it allows you to develop a relationship with people so you can learn where boundaries are. I've run into a lot of people who have an issue with establishing boundaries. And I don't mean necessarily setting it for themselves, but when other people set boundaries, they
Right.
get upset that someone would dare to put boundaries on what they are or aren't allowed to do. And I just don't
Right.
think that's not a helpful way to think about anything, because we all, no matter how much of an edge lord you are, have things that will upset us, no
Right.
matter how big or how small.
Hmm.
Some people have more lines than others, but everyone has a line. And if you can just show an ounce of compassion, just for a second, it doesn't take a lot of energy from you.
Hmm.
Just just respect other people. So for me, it doesn't bother me if strangers DM me. I don't care if people want to talk to me. That's cool. Maybe
Right.
we'll hit it off and have a really good conversation, become friends. I've had that happen with lots of people off Twitter. Sometimes it may be awkward, or if somebody who just wants to ask me something about voice acting,
Right.
anything like that. If you want to chat me, chat me. There are other people who are very uncomfortable with that. And if you know that they're uncomfortable, just respect that boundary. It
Right.
doesn't matter that you want to talk to them. If they don't want to talk to you, leave them alone. Find someone like me who doesn't mind talking to you, you know?
For sure. For sure. Yeah, I think that's a very good way to put it in terms of, you know, don't be rude. Um, and the nicer you are, and hopefully more people will come to you, because I see that you have a positive disposition, a positive vibe. Um, and people want to be around that. People don't want to be around negativity a lot. Sure, it's fun for the drama occasionally, but it, it's not going to stick. Um,
Yeah.
but being able to have this positive connection, this positive outlook, usually I feel has to do with somewhere inside. Something about loving what you are saying, what you provide, who you are. You're loving yourself. So
Absolutely.
how is self-love important in the community, and how is it even important as an actor?
Self-love, especially as an actor, is crucial. I mean, it's crucial for anybody to function in this world. You have to know how to love yourself because there are going to be so many people and so many things that are going to tell you not to.
Mhm.
And you need to know not to listen to them. I think that I am an anomaly of a person, and I don't say that because I think, oh, I'm so cool, I'm unique. Bleh. I think that I was fortunate enough at a certain point in my life to just understand, oh, no, I mean, I'm cool. I like me. I'm cool with with what this is. Um, it's something that even my little sister has remarked on a lot as we've gotten older. You
Mhm.
know, she asked me, how do you do that? How do you just like who you are and you're just confident in everything that you do? Even if you mess up, you're like, oops, you know, how does that not bother you? How do you do
Right.
that? And I honestly don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know how that happened, but I do know how important it is. And I do know how impactful it is.
Mhm.
Um, and it can be really difficult to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I don't love myself in spite of these things. I love myself because of these things.
Definitely.
And that's an important distinction because we are all weird. We are all strange, silly humans,
Mhm.
and no one is normal. This entire concept of being the thing that people are looking for, it's not real. It doesn't
Mhm.
exist. It would make us all feel better if it did because we like to sort things into boxes,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's not there. So as an actor, a lot of people hide behind the ability to play different characters, characters that they think are better than who they ended up being, right?
Right.
And I think being able to appreciate who you are when you step out from behind the mic
Mhm.
gives you that much more passion for when you are behind the mic.
Right. Right. Yeah, I definitely feel that having confidence and knowing yourself helps you to put on other faces.
Hmm.
Because if you can't connect with your own self, you don't know how to portray other emotions because you don't know how to dip into those emotions.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and I definitely feel that by having just understanding on who you are as a being definitely just helps you in the real world as well as acting, because if you can't be your true self to your friends, or you can't be your true self out in the open, you're just wearing a mask. You're wearing many masks.
Oh,
So
and it's so lonely.
it
That's
is.
something that so my most recent tweet that people are still kind of talking about right now
Hmm.
was about saying it's okay to not be okay. And that's something that's really difficult for some people because they get in this mode where they feel like if they admit that they're not okay, then
Hmm.
they're not strong. Or if they admit that they're not okay, they're not going to have anyone around them to catch them. And we all go through things that damage us, that
Hmm.
make us distrusting of even the closest people in our lives. So I
Right.
understand that. I really, really do. And I would love to just say that doesn't matter. Reach out. People will catch you anyway. That's
Oh yeah.
true for a large percentage of people.
Hmm.
But unfortunately, there are some people who have poor support networks. And if they reached out, the people around them might not catch them because they're
Right.
surrounded by unfortunately selfish individuals.
Right.
I still personally think it's important to reach out because you will either find that A, people do catch you and you need to know that, or the people that you're around won't catch you and you need to know that so that you can fix it.
Right. Right. And I definitely feel that I've been around this community for a year now. And just the support and love for whenever I see someone struggling or hurting, there's so much support and love. And heck, someone was sick and so many people were right behind him.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and I just seeing that is a testament of how much people actually care about others. Um, Also being involved in theater, I'm a part of a really good theater company, my home theater, and you can have a bad day, and 90% of the time you walk away feeling better.
Mhm.
Whether it's intentional that they're supporting you or just having their presence around is so strong and so supporting. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to understand that support in and of itself is not a clearly defined word or mission either.
right.
Support doesn't mean fixing a problem for someone. Maybe you can. Maybe you
Right.
can help. But support often just means being there. Sometimes support is making them laugh and not think about it.
Hmm.
Sometimes support is just listening to
Hmm.
whatever's going on. Um, so anybody who's nervous about reaching for support or being the supportive one, know that you just do what you can, and that's all
Hmm.
anybody can do.
Yeah. Especially if you don't even know what you're doing, just talk to them. And if they end up venting or talking to you about it, like you said, listen. And if you have something to chime in, see if it's okay to chime in. Don't just chime in because a lot of times you can step on toes. Um,
Mhm.
but definitely no boundaries in situations like that. But yeah, just being there 90% of the time, in my opinion, is worth it because you know you're not alone. You know you're not struggling through this, and no one cares. If
Yeah.
someone just shows that they care about you, that alone is enough support to get you through what you're going through.
I'm so
Right.
excited to get to meet some of these people at VO Atlanta.
Ah, I really wish I could go, but
Oh, I know. I wish all of us could go. I feel like we have so many VA friends on Twitter. Like they're my Twitter friends, and I really genuinely care about them, and I
right.
just want to bring everybody together in one place.
I want to hug you all.
Yes. It's made such a difference for me. So, I'm a very extroverted person, which, if funny enough, isn't as common as people might think in
Hmm.
performers. Most of the performers I know are very introverted people, and that's very common
I'm
for
introverted.
actors.
Very.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's nothing wrong with it at all.
No.
But I, in a sea of introverts, am very extroverted, super, super in your face, without meaning to be. I'm kind of just always on. I'm always out for a laugh. I mean,
Yeah.
anything I can do to make other people laugh within reason. I'm not the kind of person who likes to be really mean or
Right.
hurtful, but
Of course.
um, I'm always trying to like make people have a good time. And voice acting, as much as I had fallen in love with it when I first started, was so isolating and
Hmm.
lonely. I was sitting in this room all by myself and I just craved other people. I missed being on stage and getting to engage. So, um one of the first things that really made a difference for me in that was the show that I got cast in called Splinter Caravan.
Hmm.
Um all of the actors are local to Austin, and I
Oh
go to
wow.
Austin all the time for work. So it was no biggie for me to it's only about an hour away for me.
Hmm.
So, having rehearsal days and recording days there, it just, like, brought me back to life, and there's another actor in particular, Ethan, and him and I have such great stage chemistry that we keep overlapping each other, and we just run away with the scene, which is great on stage, but
On
it's
stage.
not great when we're recording behind the mic. So,
Right.
it's something that we kinda have to work on sometimes, but that that put me in such a better place, and I realized, okay, I love what I'm doing, but I need to rebuild community. I need
Right.
to find my peers. I need to be with people. And it was about that time that I found Twitter. I'm
Yeah.
very new to Twitter. I haven't even been on Twitter for a year yet.
Really?
And no, um, it's coming up. It'll be a year in about a month.
I just hit my first year.
Yeah, so we're kind of in the same place.
Right.
It was such a intimidating place at first, and that's weird for me to say because 'cause I'm not really intimidated by anything, but it was hard to understand how Twitter worked.
Hmm.
But after, maybe a week or 2, I just got it, and
Right.
not only did I get it, I was like, "Ah, I'm home," and I
Right.
found, a lot of the really passionate people in the community, like Bell.
Bell.
Bell was incredible. He he was such a powerhouse and, showed me who to follow, who to meet, who to talk to so that I
Hmm.
could make friends and so that I had people to discuss
Hmm.
this subject that I was passionate about with.
Right.
And, like Sarah Ruth, also amazing
Amazing.
individual. And, all of our other there's so many. I wanna name everybody. Like, shout out to the whole VA Twitter because 'cause
So
you're
far,
all
you've
so
listed
wonderful.
almost everyone I've spoken to on Behind the Slate.
But they're such great people, and
They're amazing.
they go above and beyond to help others, and that's one of the things that makes them the first people that pop up in my head.
Right.
Megan, there we go, shout out Megan, also Megan. Megan's also wonderful. They they really want other people to be involved,
Right.
and it can be so lonely. Like I said, it can be lonely as much as you love it, and
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to have accidentally into this community.
Yeah. It's I love being a part of this community, and that's why I kind of started Behind the Slate. It's like I want to talk. I want to officially talk to people. I want to talk to Tony Weiss, Bell, Sarah Ruth, Amanda Hufford. I wanted to get the chance to meet someone because, like you said, you are isolated, and even talking to someone via Twitter or Discord or Skype, it still feels a little disconnected. You could have great moments, but you're just like, I wish I could just officially laugh with you, or
Yes.
just bounce ideas off of you because you get these ideas and. I mean, Tony and I have spoken for 3 or 4 hours. The first time we spoke was 4 hours long, and we were doing character noises and just you name it. We were doing it all, and just being able just to have that other person who's in the same spot as you, being able to just really reel and stuff like that. And because of the community, I've made good connections with some people, and Tony and I have really connected. And there was a project that was a AAA game that was we both had access to audition for, and I was like, "Do you want to direct me in this? And
Yes.
then I'll direct you." And we were literally going back and forth, and I would do something. He goes, "Let's do that," and I'll do it. And he goes, "Yes, that's exactly what we're looking for." And then same thing, he was doing his, and I was like, "What if you said it this way?" And he gave a little bit of smirk, and he goes, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that." And just it being in that situation, you don't feel like you're alone in the booth. You're literally in the booth with someone else performing. Um,
Yes. That
it was-
interaction is so vital.
yeah. It was a lot of fun just being able to bounce those ideas, and there's how you approach or how you say something is something you wouldn't think of, or how you thought about saying something is completely different because someone else has a different thought, and
Mhm.
it changed the audition, it changed the process, and it was
Yeah.
that much more stronger. um, and I felt comfortable, I felt confident in sending in what I did, um, as an audition to a big game
Mhm.
company. So I was like, I feel comfortable with what I'm sending in. Obviously, then you're going against a bunch of other people who are sending in great stuff, but I feel comfortable with what I submitted. So
Oh, that's beautiful. Honestly, having access to direct again is something that I wasn't expecting when I jumped into the community,
right.
but I didn't realize how much I missed. I love directing. I love
Mhm.
engaging with somebody during their artistic process and seeing what they're able to put forth.
Mhm.
It's so much fun. It's one of the things that I love to do in the masterless server.
Yeah.
Um, I do 1,000 things a day. I'm kind of always on, but I tell people if they need me, ping me and I'll be there. But don't
Right.
ping me unless you want real feedback because I'm not going to come in and just tell you that you're beautiful. I'm going to give you honest, hard truth. And
Real critical feedback, what
yeah,
people
real
actually
critical
need.
feedback.
Critical feedback, not positive feedback, which is a
And that's
compliment.
as freelancers, as people who often are isolated in their booth,
Mhm,
that's something that a lot of people are really lacking. And
mhm,
it's so important. It's so necessary. You send in an audition, right?
mhm.
And whether it's good or bad, you send it in, and that's the end of it for you. Maybe you make it to the top and they might tell you, hey, we really liked it, but for this reason, we went with somebody else.
Right.
Sometimes you get that. Sometimes you get somebody who's willing to give you feedback, but,
Mhm.
and no offense to anyone, they clearly don't have any acting experience and their feedback is horribly disjointed.
Right.
So it's not useful. So a lot of us, when we're not in a classroom setting, are just completely on our own. And
Mhm,
I was like, we need a space to be able to engage with other actors, benefit from their process next to ours,
mhm.
offer feedback, and just join together in that kind of creative process. And
Yeah.
I think it's heavily beneficial to anybody who chooses to do so.
Right. And I also do want to add on top of that, you have to be willing to take good feedback,
Yes.
because it's not going to be all cupcakes and rainbows. If someone's giving you good feedback, they're going to give you, "Hey, I like this, but why don't we try this?"
Mhm.
Or why don't you leave that out? A good person who gives good feedback will not make you feel like crap
Yeah.
when they give you feedback, but also you have to be open to getting true feedback saying, "Hey, it's not perfect. Let's work on it. Let's fix it." Um, and that also is something that I feel a lot of people in the community are lacking, is being able to actually take feedback um,
Yes.
and learn from it.
Because you do need to be able to understand how to give
Mhm,
feedback, not just say, I didn't like this thing. It'd be better if you did it like this. You have to know how to convey what you're trying to get out of somebody.
mhm,
That's just as beneficial, just as important. So that matters. But something I was thinking about the other day is levels of critique, levels of
mhm,
feedback. And I think it's something that is important to acknowledge because you, at various times in your talent, in your
mhm.
skill development, will be at different levels.
Yep.
And because of that, you have access to different levels of criticism.
Mhm,
So when you're really beginner, you're down there, you're a novice, you're just starting, you're going to get a kind of feedback, a specific kind of feedback from people in general.
mhm.
Like if you're an artist, say, hey, you need to tune up the anatomy here, or try doing this with colors. Things that are broad strokes, just like
Yep.
keep up the good work kind of thing.
Yep.
As you advance and your skills increase, you
Mhm,
get more specific and more critical critique. And that
mhm,
doesn't mean that you're not talented. It doesn't mean that people don't like what you've done. It
mhm.
doesn't even mean that that you aren't capable. It
Right.
means that they can see the level of skill that you have
Mhm.
and are like, "All right, so you're open to knowing it's not just that you need to tune up the anatomy. Specifically, this shoulder is broken. Fix it."
Right.
And the same thing happens as an actor. If you hear someone who is obviously beginning and they're trying to do a character voice and their placement isn't right,
Mhm,
hey, give this a shot. I think this might really help you.
mhm,
And they make small changes, and that's good. But if you hear somebody's audition and obviously they have skill,
mhm.
you can come in and say, hey, the delivery is wrong on this. This word should be emphasized, not this word. And you're doing the tone differently. And I think, all kinds of
Yeah.
smaller tune up things that really help increase and elevate a
Right.
performance, right? And so I think that people look at different levels of criticism and
Mhm.
sometimes either take it personally, like, I'm not good enough. Look at how much they had to say.
Right.
Um, and that's not like it's not the way that you should look at critique
Right.
because you learn from doing something that's not
Immensely.
quote right, you
Right.
know, doing something right. And I'm doing air quotes as stupid as it is because there's no such thing as doing something right. There just isn't. There's always something you could do differently.
Right.
And the more open you are to that, the better you're going to be.
Definitely. And I definitely agree on that. And I feel that if you take the feedback as it is, you'll learn, you'll grow, and you'll become better.
Mhm.
If you can't take feedback and you don't know what to work on, you're kind of just doing the same thing over and over, and then you're not learning,
Yes.
you're not growing. So
Yes.
a year from now, you're maybe a step or two forward. If you take good feedback, you take classes, you take coaching, which give you feedback and everything else, you're going to be 10 leaps forward. You're going to
Mm.
make leaps and bounds in terms of growth. Um, and the more you grow as an actor, then you have access to auditioning for these bigger projects and hopefully getting cast in them,
Yeah.
even if it's a small role and or a large role. And then you can also reach out to corporations when you feel comfortable and you have learned. You can reach out to these bigger corporations that actually pay um, a living wage. Um, but it all comes from coaching and learning and taking real feedback.
Yeah. Exactly. That's very important and it gets overlooked.
It definitely does. Um, so being able to have this list of this community, and you're working uh, professionally as a voice actor, where
Mhm.
would you like to see yourself in an additional 5 to 10 years?
All right, nerd time. I like anybody else, there are things that I really enjoy. I think a lot of people that I know who are voice actors, especially in VA Twitter,
Hmm.
they're very into anime, and that's awesome. That's
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
There's some really great things going on in anime right now, and great people in that genre.
Hmm.
I think it would be fun, but what I have always really loved, what's always really inspired me, are big story video games.
Mm.
Um, Narratives like people are probably tired of hearing me use this example, but I don't care because it's my favorite. Mass Effect, the series, is
Mm.
my favorite game that I've ever played my entire life. Nothing can top it. I'm in love with Jennifer Hale's voice as Femshep, and she was playing through that game that I did at the time that I did.
Hmm.
Well, all three of them really is one of the things that solidified acting in general, but specifically voice acting for me is not just something that I loved, but had to be treated like a hobby.
Right.
It went from I enjoy doing this, but I know it's not feasible. You can't be an artist. You're never going to make a living wage.
Right.
To no, I want that. I want what she's doing. I want to do that for other people. What she's able to make me feel and give me from this game, I want to do that.
Right.
So I would love to be able to do a really badass female lead character for a big video game and be that example to other young girls who feel out of place. Because I think everybody at some point in their life feels out of place. And
Yeah.
me feeling out of place was maybe a little bit different than other people. I always knew, that I had worth
Hmm.
and value for the most part. I was always very confident, but that separated me from people in a different way.
Hmm.
And my personality is very strong. So sometimes it's a little much for people,
Hmm.
and that's okay. I fully accept that there are sometimes I'm going to meet people who can't handle being around me, and there are no hard feelings because, like, you got to live your own happy. And if I'm interfering with that, don't hang out with me. So, but there are other people who just don't feel that,
Hmm.
and I want to make that better for people.
Yeah. That's powerful. That's impactful. I I'm confident that you'll have that roles, multiple roles.
Oh, please. It's
10 years is a long time.
exactly. So
I'm confident that in 10 years time you will land a couple of those.
that's it's absolutely what I want. But for now I'm good with the kind of stuff that I do now. I tend to my wheelhouse are those side characters that you fall in love with and wish were the main characters, but they're not.
Yeah,
That's what I get cast as every single time. And it's okay because I sell the shit out of that character and
right.
you fall in love with me. And they're more fun. Sometimes you get to do way more stuff with them than you do a main character, and that's
Yeah,
okay.
for sure. You get a little bit more creative freedom.
Mhm.
Um so being full time, where does most of your um voiceover income come from? Is it e-learning? Is it audiobooks? Is it
Yeah, e-learning and commercial. I cannot say this enough, especially to the people who uh, message me all the time. Hey, how do I get started in voice acting? Hey,
mm,
I love this anime. I want to voice in it. How do I do this?
right,
Over and over and over again. I don't want to crush anyone's dreams. Whatever makes you happy, pursue it.
right,
But people need to understand that A, this is a profession, which means you need training. There are people who have raw talent. There's sometimes you find a diamond in the rough where someone is just perfect for this specific character.
right,
That does happen. But you need training, voice acting, not just voicing. Most of us have the ability to use our vocal cords to make sounds. That doesn't mean all of us are good at making it sound natural or believable.
right.
You need training. And the second thing is the things that you love to do are not going to put food on your table.
No.
You do video games, anime, creative animation projects to feed your soul,
Yep.
and you do commercial, industrial, corporate e-learning to feed your wallet. It's
Yep.
so important.
So true.
I
I'm
uh I
I'm
had a lot of e-learning that
right.
was and still is, the thing that regularly puts money in the bank.
Hmm. Yeah. I'm currently I'm trying to extend into explainer videos, uh, things like that. I can't do audiobooks or narration
They're hard.
because I'm very poor at reading long form uh, sentences and paragraphs and connect, making them feel jointed and connected. And
Mhm.
just me as a reader, reading long form is just not my strong suit, and it never has. And I know that's my weakness, but that also means like that's where most of the money is. And I'm like, I know. I mean, I could probably work my butt off, and I've gotten better at reading and sight cold reading and stuff like that. But like where I'm at now in terms of like long form reading, I have a long way to go if I'm going to do like real audiobook or narration work. Now, I haven't seen a lot of e-learning projects, like seen like people work on e-learning, so I don't know if it's the same format or if I can kind of break it down a little bit. And if I can break it down, then maybe I can reach out into e-learning. But that's why I'm like explainer videos would probably be a little bit easier because it's like about 3 minutes long and not
Yes.
7 hours or more.
It's it's something, so knowing your limitations is important, right? Obviously, you wanna expand yourself so that you can be successful, but
Right.
also knowing like, "Hey, I just can't do that,"
Yeah.
at least not where I am right now, so you don't take on projects that you end up doing subpar work for and
Hmm.
tarnishing your name or making a client unhappy.
Hmm.
That's an important thing to recognize. I think audiobooks are just they're not meant for everybody,
Yeah.
and they're kind of a hot spot for me subject wise because I don't really love the way that we typically process audiobooks anyway. I think they're a
Mm.
very neglected genre,
Yeah.
and that's part of something that I'm doing on this. I don't really know what to call it. I feel like secret project sounds really dramatic, but that one of the things that
Self
I am
project.
working on, yeah, self project that I haven't let a lot of details out about yet. One of the things in my back pocket that I'm working on is audiobook related.
Hmm.
Um, in a way, I think of not only breaking things down better for people like you,
Hmm.
but also breaking it down better for listeners
Yeah.
and helping these audiobooks be more engaging.
Yeah.
That's something that I really, really want to do because I love reading.
Yeah.
And with the right voice actor, an audiobook can be amazing. I mean, there are some voice actors who can do 1,000-page book and keep you interested in the entire time. And I don't
Power
mean,
to them.
yeah, power to them. I
Power
don't
to
mean to
them.
dog on those people.
No, no,
I
that
think
that
that
is a skill.
yes, it absolutely is, and I don't take that for granted at all. But
Mm-mm.
I think there are better ways to approach it, and so that's something I'm working on
Yeah.
putting together. One of the things that I was looking for writers for a little while ago.
Yeah. I was always thinking because Jesse and I were listening to the Chronicles of Narnia, but
Mm,
um, the radio. So you had your narrator reading everything else, but then you had actors per character. So
mhm.
kind of like an audio drama, but it was a radio show. So they actually had like all the sound effects, and I was like, this would be beautiful. It would
Mhm.
be like a
Yes.
an audio drama, but instead of being
a written audio drama and all it is, it's still a book, but narrated by people. You have your narrator and then you have your characters. And thrown a little sound effects. It doesn't have to be like high production level, but just something to give like, oh, they're walking through snow, crunch, 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 just engages the listener. Lily was just fascinated and she loved it. And I was like, this is fantastic. This I think is a good, and you don't see it. You don't see it often. You don't see a lot of these because a lot of these um, audio or writers can't afford actors to act out their book. But if
Yeah.
you could, for say fantasy specifically, if you could get a handful of actors that have the capabilities of having
Mm.
variation of voices, so that way they can voice say 5 characters instead of one, but they have the strength to really create a world. And then yeah, like you said, it's not confusing because when you're listening you're like, is that supposed to be here? Oh, it's Ron was the one talking. But if you have someone who no matter what he's gonna talk like this and you're like, that's Ron, no matter what, so you're immediately engaged in it. You don't have to think, oh, which character's talking? And then Ron then said, I'm like, it was Ron talking, not him. Or something like that. I think that would be fantastic. It would be
What
beautiful.
an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So it almost kind of bring back the old radio plays and stuff because
Yes.
yeah.
So, I love that you brought that up. That is absolutely the direction that I'm looking to go with things.
Mhm,
So, fingers crossed, if I get everything set up the way that I want it to, I'll be able to, start putting productions like that together
that'd be
regularly
beautiful. Yeah.
and utilizing the talent that we already know.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be beautiful. I see if that was a source of uh, acting, a source of voice acting in terms of providing, I would love to be a part of a project like that because
Yeah, right?
you break it down in terms of couple paragraphs or sentences for a character. I could do that.
Mhm.
I know I have the strength to do that. It's just the piecing it together as the narrator, not my strong suit. But if
Yeah.
you break it down into bite-sized character piece, yeah, hands down, I would feel comfortable doing that.
And you have to be really specific with
Yeah,
what writing you decide to take on and building something like that
yeah,
is tricky. But needless to say, it's one of the things that I'm working on.
um,
And there's more of a market for it now than there used to be.
definitely.
It's kind of this renaissance for audio dramas and radio plays, and
Hmm.
people are engaging more. And I think it's something that people want, and I want to give it to
Yeah. So I'm assuming because I was going to ask, is there a project you're most excited about? But it seems like that might be
them.
one of those projects that you are most excited about.
I oh gosh, I get so excited about anything that I wanna do,
Of
anything that
course.
I wanna do. Um, so I brought up Splinter Caravan. That's
Hmm.
something that I'm still a part of. Splinter Caravan is where I get my pin name that I use online. Clippy
Yeah,
is the character that I play in Splinter Caravan. So, um,
makes sense now.
I
There's the connection.
yes, yes, that's her name. It's a cyberpunk audio drama, so
Hmm.
she's what they call a swapper, and that's how she got her nickname Clippy, is she's able to clip different things onto her body to look like a different person.
Gotcha.
And I fell in love with her in the story, and we're all family now. That show, we're family. We hang out.
Right.
We always have drinks and party after a recording night, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
So it just made sense for me to like take that into the voice acting world with me. So people call me Clip or Clippy, and I respond to that as much as I do my own name at this
Yeah.
point. So season 2 of that is going to be coming out. Well, we're starting production on it, so I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's going to go to really interesting places. I'm of course excited about these personal projects that I've got going. There's that
Mhm.
audiobook stuff, but then there's something else that I have not given anybody who isn't inside any details on
Right.
because I am so protective of my idea.
Of course.
But I was looking for writers and I narrowed it down to a short list and gave them a prompt, and everyone wrote me like an 8-page response to the prompt. And so I will have, finally, it's taken so long between my partner and myself to go through everybody's responses. We probably had like 30 people on that short list.
Wow.
And that was the short list.
Yeah.
So talented. They were all so talented. It was hard to choose.
Right.
But on Monday, I'll finally be able to announce the writers that I've chosen to go
Ooh,
forward
that's
with the
exciting.
project. So I cannot wait to do that and get started, and then eventually hire my favorite part, obviously get some voice actors in.
Right.
So I'm really, really stoked about that. I like I can hardly contain it. I want to just tell people everything, but I'm trying to hold it back.
Yeah. No, that's a lot of fun, and I will keep my eye out for it, and I'm sure everyone else will. But where can people go to find more about you and more about your work so that they can actually stay up to date with this?
More about me. Well, for any people crazy enough to want to hear more about me than they already have, at Twitter. Twitter is where you find me. Twitter is my home. Um, my DMs are always open. People can talk to me. I have my current animation demo. My current animation demo is pinned, and people can see that. My website is not up yet, but once it is up, it'll be linked in Twitter, so people can find it there. A lot of people who work with me professionally, it goes through word of mouth through other people I've worked with. So I email a lot, and my email is also on Twitter. And I use Discord. So really, if you need to get a hold of me, any one of those platforms works. Once you have my attention, I can give you anything.
Right.
And I'm pretty good about checking that stuff. Don't go to Facebook. I'm not there. I don't live there.
No.
No, definitely
Most
not.
people aren't anymore. It's kind of
Mm-mm.
that's not where you want to be in this community. No.
Mm-mm.
I know.
No, not
Yeah.
at all. But I'm always open. I'm open for, voice commissions. People have me do little fun things all the time, or if you have business inquiries or collaboration. I'm a very busy person, but I make time to collaborate on things. In fact, Fel the Leb just did his I don't know if you saw, he had the casting call for
Yeah.
Mob's Rule.
Yeah. Yeah.
I fell in love with that script when there was a night where he needed people to help him run through it to do some
Yeah.
edits.
Yeah.
And reading it, he is a talented writer. I mean, the script was charming and engaging and so funny. His jokes just rolled. Everything landed, and I fell so in love with it. I was like, I have to audition for this. It's a collaboration, and it's
Yeah.
something that'll just be a time investment, but it'll feed my soul, right?
Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough to get cast in that, and I'm so
Ooh.
excited that that's going to be playing Zoe,
Mhm.
the main character zombie. So really looking forward to that. But I'm always open. If I have time, just message me. We'll
Yeah.
chat. We'll chat about things.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being on the show. I mean, you're being one of my guests.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. And I am so sorry that nobody has video of me being super weird and dorky in my closet right now. I promise next time I will get something sorted.
Thanks for listening to Behind the Slate with guest Amanda Hufford. If you liked the video, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell button to stay notified. I look forward to seeing you again.
I just lost a train of thought.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's not that I was afraid. Kind of was. Not. You are episode 10.
10. What a nice round number. I love it. Number 10.
I believe you're episode 10.
No, I'm 10.
Yes, could you please just
What?
sure, number 10?
You are episode 10.
That's right. Number 10.
Number 10.
Anytime someone wants to just fight me, come at me on Twitter.
let's
I
do.
will fight
Actually,
you. About
I'd be like, I agree with everything she's saying.
that.